Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of this Meta Monday thing that I've been doing. I am Joshua Joshi Howard, and today we're going to be talking about the guard list that did well over this past weekend. I am a little bit sick, I think. I seem to be coming down with a bit of a cough, so if I'm coughing, you'll just have to excuse me. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some fun stuff that's happened this week. It's not a lot of lists, so I'm going to show you every single list that made it onto either one of the spreadsheets that I've been tracking. There's not a ton to talk about this weekend. It was not a good weekend, as you can kind of see. Overall, Guard had a 43% win rate. Remember, my numbers might look a little bit different than numbers on Hutper or StatCheck. I don't care how many players were at an event. I just checked to see if it had at least 5 rounds, and it was played over the course of like 2 or 3 days. So with that in mind, my data is showing a 43% win rate overall. There was not a ton of particularly strong players playing this weekend. I was by far the highest elo player. This is me. I was by far the highest elo player that actually played this weekend. We had one other 1600 plus player. So a lot of fairly new players coming out, a lot of, players who are just trying to get their feet wet. And I think this weekend we actually had a slightly lower ratio of people playing combined, but it's still a bit over half compared to most things. Okay, with that in mind, let's go ahead and talk about the list that actually did well. So the first one is played by, and I hope I don't butcher this name, Pichu Strike Prassertwit. I know Strike coming out from Team Thailand, and they played at WTC this last year. So I know that they're a pretty good player, and I don't think that their elo necessarily represents how well they're doing. I imagine they're more of a teams player than a singles player. However, they were playing combined, and this is the first time that we've seen something that I am expecting is inspired by or similar to what Gustavo pushing the Castellans is actually looking at. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual. Army. We have Gaunt's Ghosts, Cadian Castellan, who is the Warlord, Cadian Command Squad, 1, 2 Rogaldorn Commanders, 1 20-mana Cadian Shock Troops, 1, 2 units of 10 Catachan Jungle Fighters, 1, 2 units of Kazarkin, 2 Hellhounds, an additional Rogaldorn Battle Tank, 2 individual Scout Sentinels, and 2 Tauroxes. So this takes a small departure from the what we've been seeing Gustavo play pretty heavily. And the biggest thing is that there's these 2 Hellhounds in the unit or in the army, and the extra Rogaldorn battle tanks. This is an extra 500 points of like firepower that you don't generally see in the style of list that we've been seeing on the UKTC. But this makes a lot of sense to me, at least in principle, on playing like Games Workshop terrain. The extra Rogaldorn battle tank really helps push you over the edge on GW terrain, which I am led to believe is the dominant style of terrain being played over in Thailand. He did have these 2 Hellhounds. I've been really down on Hellhounds recently, but they do come in, and the big cost to them is like these Hellhounds and the extra Rogaldorn are coming at the cost of one, the extra unit of Cadians that often stay on your home, as well as the extra unit of Kazarkin going into another transport, typically a Chimera, that we would expect to see. So it's just trading a lot of like brawling power that you would expect from things like the Kazarkin and the Chimeras, for firepower, right? You get the extra Rogel Dorn, you get the extra Hellhound, so there's more like tank durability coming out, but it's not necessarily the same kind of brawl. The big thing that I take a look at with this is it's a little bit more vulnerable to losing control of its own primary, simply because you have if you're expecting that like the Cadian Castellan unit is going to be going to hang out on your natural with the 20-man Cadian Shock Troops, this is like way less able to stand on your own home. So I'm expecting that what Strike was probably doing is you probably were just using one tendril of the really big Cadian unit to go touch your natural, hope to stick you, put some Catachan or something else on that objective as well, and then you can pull the unit back. And that way you can sticky both your home and your natural going into your second turn. It is a little, like I said, a little bit more vulnerable to getting just like charged by things. But if you use like that tendril of it in order to push yourself forward and heroic onto the objective, you can still like just because you make a charge doesn't mean you have to move every model the full distance. Like you can still leave like a guy touching your home objective, sticky that, and then send something else forward. So it is like a little bit. It has a little bit less board control, like we were saying, but in exchange, it does a decent amount more damage than something that we've been seeing coming out from Gustavo. The next one I want to talk about, Alberto Yarrick La Orden, a player that I have seen their name before, but I think this is the first time I've actually seen them place as well as they did this time. So Pichayut, Strike, Prosser, Twit did win, going 5-0 at, I believe it was a 24 player event, whereas Alberto went 4-1 this last weekend with combined arms. It was not super exciting. It had Kading Command Squad, Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar is probably the most interesting inclusion in this list. This is something that we very rarely see. I can actually, here, I'll go ahead and show you guys this as well. Lord Solar. So Lord Solar, 1, 2, 3. Looks like 3, 4. So it's not coming up nearly as often as it used to. You're seeing it a little bit more than we were seeing it before. However, it is not that common in top lists these days. Anyway, 2 Rugaldorn Commanders, Sly Marbo, 1 10-man Cadian Shock Troops, assumingly... Oh. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Cadian Command Squad, 2 Toraxes, 1 2 units of Kazarkin, 1 2 Vanquishers, both with Plasma Cannon, Scout Sentinel, Scout Sentinel, Scout Sentinel, 1 unit of Aquilons, 2 unit of Aquilons. This is pretty normal stuff. It's just a little bit of everything. I'm not as much of a fan of just the, like, foot slugging. Oh, never mind. The Hazard and Toraxes. So you just got a little bit of everything in this list. Like, there's nothing about this list that instantly jumps out to me as, like, bad, right? It's just, like, it's just a bunch of decent data sheets all in one place. If this was, like, one of those... I made a joke a long time ago that if you, like, randomly generated a guard list with just, like, the good data sheets and none of the bad data sheets, you'd get something pretty decent. And this is kind of like that, right? Like, this is one of those just it has a bit of everything. Is it super good at anything? No, it's pretty good at winning, like, shootouts against other armies that have, like, vehicles like Predators or other Lehman Russes or other Rugal Thorns, simply because you have the 2 Vanquishers, which, everybody has to respect the damage that they can do. But then, yeah, the 2 Aquilons I think is probably the cutest part of this. This is the one part that I would potentially look at maybe changing at future events. But this is pretty similar to stuff that I've seen, like Chris Daly play down in Atlanta. The big thing here is Chris has been playing, instead of Kazarkin, he's been running Catachan and Ogren squads instead, and finding some extra points elsewhere. I think if you, like, drop Sly Marbo, like, we're pretty close to it. To what those lists look like. Anyway, congrats to Alberto. Next is me. This is my list. I played this at a small GT. I went 4 wins, no losses, and 1 draw, which gave me the top record at the GT that I went to, Carnage at the Keep. 24 players. I was bringing Bridgehead to this. I have a lot more to say on the strength of Bridgehead and, like, how my games went. I'll be doing that in a video coming up probably tomorrow or the day after. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. It was Bridgehead. I had 1 Cadian Command Squad, Gaunt's Ghost, 1, 2, 3 Militarum Tempestus Command Squads, one of which had the Bombast class Vox Ray, one of which had the Shroud Projector. So this is the extra orders. I call him Cool Radio Man, and this is Shroud Projector, which is cannot be overwatched. Yeah, I'll talk more about, like, the intricacies and stuff tomorrow. But Ursa Creed, 1 20-man Cadian Shock Troops, 1 20-man Death Corps of Krieg, 1, 2, 3 units of Tempestus Scions, all 10-mans, 1 5-man Rough Riders, 1 10-man Rough Riders, 1, 2, 3 units of Heavy Weapon Squad Mortars, Catachan specifically, Death Riders, Kazarkin, and then 1 Tempestus Aquilons. So big thing about this is that the idea of why I'm bringing this to an event is, 1, it still super kills infantry, right? Like, you're still going to be wounding anything marine or lighter on 2s, reroll 1s with all of your Scion Plasma, and then, like, you just put out a ton of shots. However, you've lost a lot of damage in the list, and so the big reason why, like, I'm just going, like, basically pure infantry and horses is to just kind of overwhelm people. This has a lot of units that are relatively fast that can really brawl in the middle of the board, and in so doing, between that brawling and the mortars, you're going to be opening up holes in your opponent's backline so that the Scions can actually go for better drops. And if you just play a really slow front to back, you're going to be favored if you're going second, and you have the option, if you're going first, to just, like, drop, like, 100 Scions, or what is it? 45, 55, just like drop infantry all in the same turn. Just blow open one side of the board, and then you can slowly shift to play the other side. So you can protect your natural really well, or you can shift to the other side of the board, attack their natural. And then, of course, if your opponent makes mistakes and leaves holes in their backline, then you can just blow them out because you suddenly have access to their most important units wherever they are. This is pretty reminiscent of Bridgehead lists that were having a lot of success in like January through March, and it is the first normal Bridgehead GT win since Wesley St. Heinz won Old Guard Games. I think it was on March 15th. There was one other Bridgehead win by Manuel Bel Wietzerek, I want to say, playing Canis and a very unusual style of Bridgehead over in Germany. So anyway, I brought that. I'll talk about it more in a video tomorrow. Bridgehead. Would I recommend playing it? Not really, but it's fun and it's not combined. Okay, we only have two players. So again, if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I know people who had a good record at teams events, the current way that I'm doing it so far is I don't really care what their record is. I'm mostly just looking at players that kind of hit that good enough benchmark, and the cutoff that I've been using so far is 1600 elo in singles. Is it guaranteed that the player is super good? No. Does it, if you're below 1600, does it mean you're not a good player? No. It's just, it's the only way that I know how to do it that is like vaguely equitable. And so we only had a couple of players pop up this week, and because we're using the good player metric more than the result, that's how we get people like Frank, who went 1 win, 3 losses, and 2 draws. But he, like, as you take a look at, like, he was never more than ±1 from a draw, right? Like that is a well performing list. Whereas you have other people like at the same event where John Winter got 5 blowout wins, right? Like 5 big wins for his team. Like, is one of them better than the other? No. Let's just look at what good players are playing. Anyway, with that round out of the way, the only two players that made it onto the list this week are, I'm gonna butcher these names again. I think it's Gilles K, playing at the Belgium GT, went 2 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. His team went 3-1-1, and then Philip Koenig. I think it's Koenig because I know it has like the 2 dots over the O, but playing at Battle of the Titans, I think it was I think it was in Germany, but it might have been in like Denmark or something. I'll check so I don't sound like a complete idiot. But Best Coast pairings. Österreich. Is that Austria in German? It is. Okay. So in Austria. Anyway, taking a look at the lists. Here we go. So Gilles was playing a combined arms. I'm gonna pull up the teams list thing again so I can reference it. He went 2 wins, 1 loss, and a draw. And as you can see, he played against Combined Arms 3 games in a row. And then he played Gene Stealer, Biosync Brute Surge to a draw, and World Eaters Berserker Warband to a draw. Combined Arms, let's take a quick look at it. It wasn't super exciting in any way, but you have Ursa Creed, Cadian Command Squad, 1 Rogel Commander, so you oftentimes see 2 or more, but 1 10-man Cadian Shock Troops, 1, 2, 3 units of Jungle Fighters, 1, 2, 3 units of Kazarkin, 1 Hellhound, and then we go into what I used to call like the standard tank package of 2 Luminous Battle Tanks, and 1 Exterminator, and then 1 Scout Sentinel, 1 Chimera, and then 2 Tauroxes. So this is a list that's very similar to stuff that I was playing in singles like 3 months ago, I want to say. It has like I said, the standard tank package, Rogel Commander, Battle Tank, Exterminator, Hellhound, and so it gives you just enough firepower to put down range, and it kind of does everything. It doesn't really excel at any one thing, but it does everything that you can really ask for reasonably well. You still have your Kazarkin and transports. You still have enough stuff in your Kazarkin to go stand on things. The only like downside to this list is because none of these are like the 20 brick. They're a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder to hold your natural, but you can still put enough pressure on the mid board, put enough pressure on your opponent's side of the board that they can't necessarily play for ours. Anyway, he did play the combined mirror 3 times. Won twice, lost once. But he still got a 9 out of it, and then he got 2 more draws. So Well done to Gills. The other one here is Philip, a name I have seen before in both singles and teams in the past. Also playing combined arms at Battle of the Titans in Austria. Cadian Command Squad, one Militarum Tempestus Command Squad with the Grand Strategist enhancement, one Ogrim Bodyguard, Bulgren Maul, Brute Shield, yep, Rogodorn, Cadians, Catachan, Chimera Torox, Hellhound, Kazarkin, Rattling, Scout Sentinel, Aquilons, Scions. So this is fairly similar to a lot of other things. Like I said, fairly similar to a lot of other things. Probably the most interesting thing here is the Military Command Squad with Grand Strategist, as well as the 10-man Scions and Aquilons. This is not a unit that has been particularly popular recently. We've been seeing a lot of people mess around with the Command Squad and 5 Scions as like a rapid ingress threat. You drop them, you kill something off your opponent's natural. By like double ordering them, and they move 9 off of the rapid ingress, and they shoot something, and then they charge something in your opponent's natural. So you kill like one or two things, and then you also deny your opponent 5 points of primary. Having the big unit, especially with volley guns, is really interesting to me. It says that it's a little bit more teched into trying to kill like marines and hordes than it is trying to be like an all-purpose drop kill unit. And same thing here with the Tempestus Aquilons. Another unit that's a little bit surprising, but you still have like enough things in the mid board: Scout Sentinel, Rattlings, Kazarkin, Hellhound, Transport. And you still have the 2 Dorns. So you still have like all of the things that you would expect like a combined arms list to bring. He just has like the one Scion unit that will sharpen his matchups a little bit. He's a little bit more susceptible to like tanks and stuff like that, especially because he's running the volley guns. However, it is something that should be pretty good and just able to play into almost everything. With that said, we do see that Philip ended up getting a 20 into Monka Tau, a 10 into Chaos Knights, Infernal Lance, which makes sense. It's not as good at playing into those. Another 14 into Monka, an 18 into Shadowmark Talon, Raven Guard, and that is somewhere where the volley gun, plasma gun unit should shine, especially because it has the lethal sustained, and then another 10 into Chaos Knight. So, blowing out Montka, blowing out Raven Guard, getting a decent sized win into Montka again, and then 2 draws into Chaos Knight sounds about right from what I would expect from a strong player piloting this style of list. Anyway, that is it. I saw a little bit. I did mark. I mentioned last week that I was expecting if we were going to see more Castellans taken, it would start happening this week and maybe next week, rather than last week. And what we saw is that only one person this one is Strike, Pichayut that we were talking about before, getting a 5-0 with a Castellan. However, there's not a lot of other like super strong Castellan play. We got a 2-3 in Siege, a 0-3 in Recon, a 3-2 in Mech, a 2-3 in Hammer, a 4-2 in Combined, a 4-2 in Siege, and then some not as impressive results in Combined and Siege. So overall, we're still seeing that this is the kind of tool that good players will be able to exploit. I'm not super convinced on it yet still, but it's something that Gustavo will continue to bother me about. So we will have updating opinions as things go. Other big thing is I do want to share with you guys is we do have a bit more data. The Super Heavy it's gotten a lot better actually. The Super Heavy on the last data slate was pretty low, just under 31% win rate. This data slate, it's up to 42% win rate. So that's like an 11% jump in how good it is. Unfortunately, it's still not very good. But, I mean, what do you really expect? In other news, fun stuff, if you remove me from this data set, mortars go down to like 27%. Indirect continues to be bad. Don't take it. Yeah, that's about it. Not a whole lot of super interesting stuff happening this week. I think my Bridgehead win is legitimately the most exciting thing that happened. Otherwise, it's been mostly pretty normal combined. Oh yeah, shout out to what's his name? Mord's Yoop, um, over in Europe as well, getting a 4-2 with Bridgehead at the same time. So, yay, Bridgehead. We randomly just had like an 85% win rate this weekend because we had 2 players play it and they both did well. So, go us. Anyway, I'm going to go lie down for a little bit. I'm still not feeling super good on my throat. I haven't been coughing, but I can feel it for sure. So I'll see you guys all later. I'll try to have that video about Bridgehead stuff coming out tomorrow or the day after, depending on how I'm feeling. So I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.